Hey, what's up, everybody? Daniel from Bro Trio here to talk about how big of a deal it is that Chrono Cross is getting a remaster. Chrono Cross is such a beloved game in my eyes. It's my favorite JRPG of all time. It was probably one of, if not the first game I beat by myself, which as the youngest sibling, I take huge stock in. I did it before Aaron or Scotty, and I did it all by myself. Without walkthroughs, without the internet, without my older brother's help. It was a big moment for me, and that it probably, my love for Chrono Cross stems from that entire fact. But Chrono Cross is an amazing game. So we're going to go through a little bit of history, some facts, some opinions, and just kind of detailing why this is such a big deal and why I really want to talk about it. Because I will use any excuse to talk about Chrono Cross. But we're going to do things talking about how it released, the reception at the time, a little bit of the development, like history, a little of the quotes from the developers, the legacy I want to talk about, and then the new remastered price, and of course the Radical Dreamers being added into it. So let's start things off as we often do at the time of the birth of Chrono Cross. It was released in 1999 in Japan, the year 2000 in North America. It was one of the later games of the PS1, so it looked pretty good for the time, and it still looks pretty good, but not so much on big, like, you know, HD TVs or flat screens or anything. It's kind of one of those things that is like made for the CRTs, because they kind of were blurry enough that it could hide some of the imperfections. But Chrono Cross has some really great cutscenes that are very well done, and it's hard to believe it was on the PS1 because some of them look better than PS2 cutscenes did. So this is where it gets upsetting. Chrono Cross has had 2 re-releases. So it came out originally in 2000, and then it got a re-release in 2001 because it went to the PlayStation Greatest Hits collection. So, for those of you that don't know, the PlayStation Greatest Hits collection was a kind of, it's similar to like the Game of the Year editions nowadays, where it was just a discounted, kind of more bang for your buck of a like popular game that it just gave everybody a chance to play it. When it came out on Greatest Hits, Chrono Cross for the PlayStation 1 was $19.99. What a steal. It was amazing. And that's when I got it, actually. I got it on the Greatest Hits because I saved up my own money to get it. Another reason it holds so much stock in my entire life. And then, fast forward to 2011 is the next time Chrono Cross got a re-release, because it came out on the PlayStation Network only on the PlayStation 3. You couldn't get it on the PlayStation Network on PS4. It was only on the PlayStation 3. I know this because literally, like 4 months ago, I got out my PS3 to replay it. Because growing up, I replayed Chrono Cross seemingly once a year, once every 2 or 3 years. It was a lot. Like, it got to be a joke with Aaron and Scotty. They would tease me, and they're just like, oh, it's about that time. You're going to replay Chrono Cross? And I was like, hell yes, I am. Have you heard that soundtrack? So, I busted out my PS3. I replayed Chrono Cross. I went a route I don't normally take. One of the ones I hadn't done very often, and I loved it. I loved doing it. The game still holds up, and it's still, I'm not 100% certain if I understand it. Which is great, because that's the allure of the JRPG. Like, it starts out all fun and, you know, hoo-hoo, yeah, this is going, a bunch of kids on an adventure, and then it's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna fight God. Oh, God's an AI. Oh, he's my dad. Oh, it's not my dad. Oh, my God, what is Link's up to? And that's the beauty of Chrono Cross. So, 2 re-releases already. a slap in the face, but this is really gonna hit hard for those of you that are fans, because when Chrono Cross came out, it was received very well. Reviews were all around, like, if it's on a percentage, it was about 98%. If it was, another score, it was about 4 out of 5s. GameSpot literally gave it a perfect 10. And that was like a huge deal, because I think they had only given a perfect 10 to about 16 other games. I love Chrono Cross, and I wouldn't say it's perfect. It's got some flaws, and I definitely agree with the 98%, because there's like 2% of the game I don't really care for, but 98% is spot on, and I could get behind that. So it was reviewed very well, and then in the year it came out, Chrono Cross won some awards. Chrono Cross was the PlayStation Game of the Year, the best RPG of the year, and got the award, very fittingly, for Best Music. Chrono Cross has a soundtrack that is in its own league. The composer is the same composer that did the prequel game in the series, Chrono Trigger, and he never disappoints. Chrono Trigger is an amazing soundtrack. Chrono Cross is an incredible soundtrack, and they're both very different. Normally, you'd think if it's one same composer, he's gonna like retread some type of themes and stuff in the songs, and he really doesn't. Like, it is almost completely different genres going from Trigger to Cross, because the music has that much range in what it's setting up, how it feels, how much you can jam to it, and it just works in every situation it's in. So we're going to do a little bit of quotes from the developers right now. So, real quick, going into it, the developers said straight up, they were like, we did not want to do time travel again. That's why they went with the dimension hopping aspect of Chrono Cross. And they, quote, "We're not so weak or cheap to try the same thing as Trigger." End quote. What this quote means to me is they did Chrono Trigger and they loved it. They did time travel and they were like, we did it the best we could in that instance. There's no point going back to it. So they went for dimension travel, and I think they nailed it, because Chrono Cross is one of those multiversal stories that really is interesting, as it is cool, as it is like heartbreaking, and it just really puts you through almost every emotion possible. And it's really cool that a game that's primarily just reading text can do that. It is heavily assisted by the music more times than not, because that music puts you in the mood of whatever the scene is. A lot of times with Chrono Cross, it's kind of sad, and that's really one of the better aspects of it, that a 2000 game can make you feel sad and cry just from reading the text, not even hearing it voice acted. You just read it and you're just like, oh my god, kid, what happened? A big quote I would like to say from Masato Kato is, it is not Chrono Trigger 2. And that's a big one to me, because a lot of people relate it to that because it's the second in the franchise. And it is in the Chrono franchise, similar to how Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy VII are related. Like, it's ultimately the same franchise because it's relatively the same like game type and genre and everything. But other than that, that's where the similarities end. Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger have a bit more related to them than the Final Fantasy games do, because you see the like ghostly child spirits of Chrono, Marl, and Luca at some point. But other than that, that's could be considered fate. It could just be considered an Easter egg. It could just be considered not really them, because you never know if it's something going on with fate, if it's something going on with the dragons, or what have you is going on in Chrono Cross. So you never really know, like, if the developers meant it as just an Easter egg, or if it's supposed to be just like super duper canon. So moving on from the developers, we're going to talk about the legacy. And legacy is really where it hits home for most of the Chrono Cross fans, because Chrono Cross, as a fan base, we are small, but we are passionate and we are dedicated. That being said, the fan base of Chrono Cross really likes this game so much because it is like a hidden gem, and it's kind of like an odd satisfaction to know about a game so good when no one else does, but yet you want everybody else to know. It's kind of hard to explain because you want to tell everybody about it, but you also like being the cool guy that has the hidden gem game, and you're just like, yeah, this game's amazing, you should go play it. And Chrono Cross also has a little bit of legacy because it has some fully unique elements in this game that has never really been done since. And so we talked about it only has 2 re-releases. That only makes the fan base more passionate and more dedicated, because now we have to, dig our PS3s out of the attic to play it. But it also encompassed all those fans with a fully unique element battle system. The battle system is so in-depth, but also very easy to understand once you get going. So basically, you have attacks and you have elements, which are basically magic. The element system is similar, this is going to sound weird, but it's similar to a coin, where a coin has heads and tails. The element system has 2 sides to every innate. An innate is whatever a character's innate element is. Like Surge, the main character, his innate element is white. Every innate has an opposite. So white, the opposite, is black. So heads and tails. And white is super effective against black. Black is super effective against white. Green is super effective against yellow. Yellow is super effective against green. So every heads and tails of the innates is its own weakness and its own strength. Because it's very interesting, because you can't just like pick one person and you're just like, okay, this person resists this color, so I'm gonna go in and have them be the tank and the cannon and just kill everything and tank all the attacks. You can't really do that. But you also sort of can, because of how the allocation system works, because every character has an elemental grid. It levels up as you level up, which there are not really levels in this game, by the way. It's a little more simplified and complicated at the same time. You gain random stats seemingly from just battles. Like you get HP plus 2 and stuff like that from just about every battle, or you just get rewards and stuff like that. But anytime you beat a boss, you level up, and your star level goes to the next level, typically adding more elemental slots to your allocation grid. So you can buy elements in this game. Every attack you can buy or find, or some version of that other than the super moves. And you can buy and put them on anyone. But going back to those coins, if you put a white elemental attack on a black innate character, they won't do that much damage with that white elemental attack. But if you put that white elemental attack on a white innate character, that character will do mega super damage with that white elemental attack. So you can kind of weight yourself in that aspect, that if you go in and you know this person's gonna be a yellow innate, you can hunker down with a bunch of green innates and cast Arrow Saucer, Arrow Blaster, all kinds of stuff. And you can put those on anybody. As long as they're not yellow, you'll probably be fine. Even if they are yellow, I mean, I guess it's kind of worth it, but I would stick away from it. But you can put green elements on a white innate character and they'll do the normal damage. But if you put them on a green innate character, then they will do hyper damage to whatever. Like if you're fighting a yellow and you have a green with green attacks, like you're gonna do some damage and it's gonna hurt them a lot. Moving on from the elements to another unique aspect of the battle system, we have the stamina gauge. Because every character kinda, like, there's not really speed, like a speed bar, like in Final Fantasy or anything like that. You have stamina. So anytime an attack goes, you gain stamina. And other characters gain stamina faster than, you know, others. That's the speed aspect of it. So, like, if someone would be a fast character in, say, Final Fantasy, here they just regain more stamina. And whenever you attack, you have a, like, power percentage. So you have 1, 2, and 3. 1 will not do that much damage, but it's almost guaranteed to hit. 2, medium damage, medium chance to miss. 3, heavy damage, and higher chance to miss. So every character has their own hit percentage and stuff like that. So you can weight it so you can hit 3s and make sure you hit a lot. And odds are, it's probably, I think it's actually safer to do and does more damage to do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 3, and basically just do that. Build your way up, because the more consecutive hits you get, the more likely you are to hit on the next one. So as tempting as it is, you don't just want to do 3, 3, 1, because odds are you might miss that first one and then you might hit the second one. But if you did 1, 2, 3, you would hit almost more than likely all 3 of those, and it would add up more damage. But also, here's the other thing. You want to make those hits, because if you miss, you don't get the points into your allocation grid. So allocation grid has levels. To get to level 1, you do 1 attack. So you stab them with your swallow, that's a 1. You just do a little poke, you are guaranteed to hit, you get it. If you do a level 2 attack with the swallow and you hit, then you get 2 points into the allocation grid. If you do a level 3 attack and you hit it, you get 3 points. So you build up all those points. You have a total of 6 stamina to spend. Each level of attack spends that much stamina. So if you do, you have 7 points of stamina. If you do 3, 3, 1, that spends all your stamina, but you're at level 7 as far as the elements go. So it's a trade-off. So you could do a 3, 3, 1, and you could hit, or you could miss, and then you'd miss again, and then you could just do the 1, which I've done before, and it sucks, because you don't get any elemental build-up, and you get a level 1, but then your turn's over, and you gotta wait until your stamina comes back. To regain stamina, other turns have to happen, whether it be your party's turns or the enemy's turns. You even have some of the character classes too, like the classic tropes, which is specific to each character, and it kind of varies. Whether, like, there's a lot of blue users, some are mages, some are like brawlers, and some are like just rounded characters. So you have the character JRPG archetypes to work with, the elemental innate aspects of it, and you have to deal with like your weapons and your equipment, which will buff like your attack percentage to hit, your actual attack stats, and a bunch of stuff like that. So Chrono Cross has a very, very unique system. I don't know if it's come across as good as it is by my descriptions. It's one of those things, it's like a board game. Once you get going, you're just off to the races. Like, it falls into place very quickly, and it is very complex, but it's very easy to pick up and not really that difficult to master. But you gotta do a little bit of research and a little bit of just, you know, experience to get a full grasp of the combat system in Chrono Cross. Next up, a big aspect of Chrono Cross is all the characters. Chrono Cross has 45 different characters. Each one is pretty unique. Some are relatively similar, and some are kind of forgettable. But everyone you cannot get in one playthrough. I think it takes at least 3 playthroughs to get every character. And even then, you can't get your characters from the previous game until you get about halfway through the game. So Chrono Cross has 45 characters, branching paths to get all the characters, and just about every character in the game has a character side story to get their final attack. Every character has 3 super moves, and you get the first one in the level 3 aspect of your elemental grid. You just earn it at some point. It's different for every character. The second super move every character gets is just earned at some point. I think it's in the level 5 of the elemental grid. It might be 6. I'm not fully sure, but I want to say 5. That sounds about right. But then the third one, some characters might gain this naturally, and that's specific to those characters. But most characters have a complete side quest specific to that character to get their third super move. And it's very interesting how some of them, how you get them with most of the characters. Like, I think Fargos is probably one of my favorites. He's a pirate. He's awesome. And a lot of times it kind of boils down to, like, you're in an opposite dimension. So it's just like, hey, take him to see his dimensional counterpart. And then you get it. But you also get, like, a little dialogue, a little backstory, a little this, a little of that. You know, some JRPG flair to it. It's not just like, hey, that's me. But it's not me. It's a bit more than that. And then it awakens whatever the character's, like, super move is. Like, Fargo just figures out how to slash his sword like the Invincible, and it's pretty awesome. These attacks are well worth getting, especially for whoever your main party is. You're going to want these attacks because they are semi-difficult to get, but the journey is well worth it, and the reward is fully worth it. These are some of the most devastating attacks in the game. So we're going to move on to the price. And this is pretty interesting because Chrono Cross Remastered Radical Dreamers Edition is only $19.99 for the United States. Not that much. And it's pretty good for that price because it looks so much better than it has. I think it was either $10 or $15 on the PlayStation Network when it came out on the PlayStation 3 back in 2011. But now it's $20, which oddly enough shares the same price point as the Greatest Hits price back in 2001. But I will say it does look much better now, and I don't think $20 is that much, and you're getting a bargain for it. Because this game is about 40 hours long for one playthrough. That's a hefty amount of time for $20. And not only that, this game has Continue Game Plus. So anytime you beat the game, you can start anew with the same levels, the same equipment, and then once you get to this certain halfway point, you get the same characters back. Because keep in mind, there's branching paths. You can't get everyone in one go. If you want to get every single character, you have to do Continue Game Plus, or at least like twice. Continue Game Plus is kind of interesting because you are vastly overpowered, and it never is really a challenge. But it's one of the more interesting ways to experience it because it's another cool thing carried from Chrono Trigger, the first game in the series, but this one does it too. There are multiple, and I mean multiple, endings. There are 12 endings to this game. So, in addition to at least 3 replays to get all the characters, there's at least 12 minimum to see all the endings, whether it be beating the game normal, beating the game using the Chrono Cross, beating the game first thing on Opasa Beach. You can do it. And you get different endings based on what you do. Like whether it's a developer's room or something or another. They're all pretty interesting. And The other thing about this release I want to talk about that's kind of it was kind of mind-blowing to me when I was doing the research for this, but this is the first non-PlayStation release this game has ever seen, because it was on PlayStation 1, backwards compatible with PlayStation 2, and then the PlayStation Network on the PlayStation 3, and that was it. Never came to PS4 or 5, never came to anything else. Like, not even the PC market got it, which is baffling to me. So now Chrono Cross will be playable on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, and Nintendo Switch. I will be getting it on Nintendo Switch just for the portability of it, because there are more times than not I've been playing this game and I'm just like, I wish I could take this on the go, and now I can, and that makes me so happy. And then the final aspect of this video I want to talk about is the Radical Dreamers part of this new game, because I don't know too much about this. So Radical Dreamers was a 1996 text-based game released for the Satellaview. If you don't know what the Satellaview is, it was basically the Super Nintendo. It was Japan only. It was a satellite attachment that you could just download games. So the Satellaview game, Radical Dreamers, was a text-based game that's really just plot. From what I can tell, it just tells you the plot. It might give you some choices, but it just is an exposition dump of a game, kind of bridging the gap between Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross. And this is going to be the first time ever we've had that officially out of Japan that I know of. Like, I've always heard of Radical Dreamers, but I've never been able to do anything other than a fan translation of it. So I'm very anxious to see what everything is, and I'm diving right into that first, because that came out before Cross did, like a good 3 years before Chrono Cross did. So I'm anxious to see Radical Dreamers. I'm glad we're finally getting it. But that's pretty much it. Like, I just really wanted to talk about Chrono Cross, and I think this is a huge deal. I think it is criminal that a game that won so many awards and was so highly praised when it came out has not seen more than 2 re-releases. And now we're finally getting the third one. We're finally getting it. And I'm just praying and hoping that this game is well received by this new audience. Everyone that has ever heard of Chrono Cross can play it. It's only $20. You can wait for it to get on sale. But I can almost guarantee you, if you like JRPGs, if you like RPGs, if you just like a great plot that keeps you going, you'll like Chrono Cross, because that will be my closing statement. Is I want to say that I think Chrono Cross came out too soon. I think it was too much for everybody when it came out, and that might be why it's so it's such a hidden gem. Because I was telling Aaron about it the other day, but it's like Marty McFly in Back to the Future when he's playing Johnny Be Good, and all the people in 1955 are just like, oh my god, what is that? And he's like, well, maybe y'all aren't ready for that, but your kids are gonna love it. That's what I think Chrono Cross is like, because back in 2000, multiversal theory was not really talked about that much, and now we're getting a lot of it. Because we not only have a lot of shows and everything, and literally the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the entire Phase 4 is about the multiverse. So it's in the cultural zeitgeist. It's on everybody's mind. And I think now is probably the perfect time to re-release Chrono Cross, because multiverse is huge, and Chrono Cross does it arguably one of the best I've ever seen. It does it so well. I can't wait for everybody to experience it. And I just had to make this video talking about my passion for Chrono Cross and why I think it's just such a big deal that we're finally getting a re-release and a remaster. I cannot wait for April to replay Chrono Cross. thank you all for watching. I hope you liked this video. I had a lot of fun just researching it and getting everything ready for this video. So please let me know if you liked it, and we will try to do more of these in the future. But this is really just a passion project. You gotta feel it for these, and I was really feeling it after that direct. I am over the moon, both of them. I was wearing the Chrono Cross shirt in the reveal. Like, I almost changed to, and like, I was gonna change to a Donkey Kong shirt to hope that we got one of those, and then it was Chrono Cross, and I was so happy. But that's gonna do it for me. So y'all let me know if you like this. Be sure to give this video a like and keep up with the Bro Trio for more releases. See y'all next time.